Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little DIY. It is something a little. I've just basically done a few upcycles on a few pieces that I already have and a little bit of wood that's kicking around my house. I'm looking at it now, how it turned out. Kind of happy with it. Not my best work, but you know, it's okay. It's miles better than what it was. But yeah, hopefully today it will bring you a little bit of inspiration, spark some creative in your mind maybe. I find when doing little projects I kind of build up to the bigger ones and my mind starts like going like, oh, I could do this, I could paint that, and before you know it I've painted the whole house, which is something that is happening to me right now. But yeah, I've upcycled a few of the pieces that I already had in my home or from autumn decor from last year or the year before, for example. So I will be linking a few previous videos down in my description just in case you wasn't around last year and you didn't see those. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started straight on into the first DIY. I don't have much more else to say than that, but there you go. Happy Wednesday, happy DIY day. Okay, so for the first DIY upcycle today, I'm going to be painting this heart that I have on my wall. It's a nice dusky pink, but I'm taking all the pink out of this room for the seasons ahead. So I actually got this in a charity shop a while back. I think it cost me like 50p. I was really happy with it because I actually intended to paint it this colour but never got around to it as I ended up introducing pink. So I actually used the same paint that I painted my front room door with, which actually is the same exact colour as the colour on the wall next to this heart. It looks a lot more whiter on camera than it is in real life, but I promise it's a nice warm grey neutral kind of stony colour, which I got mixed up in the V700 blend by Valspar in B&Q to colour match the Cornforth white by Farrow & Ball. With 2 coats, this heart was completely transformed and I think it blends in so much better. I promise it's the exact same colour as this wall and it's such a hard colour to capture on camera, but I promise in person it looks a lot better. So moving on to the second upcycle DIY, I actually made this wreath in last year's video for my front room door, but I decided to put it on my mirror this year with the help of a little over the door hook from Primark. I use these instead of wreath hangers on this mirror just because they're much shorter and it just suits the mirror well with the way that they kind of sit. So I decided to upcycle this by changing the pumpkins because I didn't want the buffalo check in this year's decor, and I made them removable last year so that I could do this because I know how fussy I am when it comes to bringing in new colours and designs, and yeah, this year was no different. So as you know, well, you might know, you might not, I'm actually getting a new sofa. So I got loads of sofa samples through in the post not so long ago and I actually ended up making some little pumpkins out of these to replace the ones on the wreath. So I just cut these out into like eye shapes and I made 5 on each pumpkin and I sewed them all together. Now I do have a really in-depth tutorial on making these pumpkins in the exact same way, so I'll make sure to link that down in the description, just so that you'll have a really good tutorial on that because I put so much effort into that video and a lot of people have remade them from it, so I think I must have done something right there. But basically you want to create some eye shapes in fabric. I recommend doing an odd number like 5, and then you want to stitch them all 5 pieces together around to make like a 3D ball like shape from the fabric. You'll then want to turn this shape inside out so that all of the nice seams are facing outwards and the raw edges are facing in. You'll then want to stuff these shapes up using some like toy stuffing or pillow stuffing, just polyfill stuff that you can get from Hobbycraft, and then you want to stitch this opening shut where you stuffed all of that stuffing in. You then want to stick something in the top to make a little stalk, so in this case I used cinnamon sticks, which is something that I have used probably for about 6 or 7 years now in my pumpkins with making them. And then you'll want to use either string or twine or just like cotton thread on your needle again to make the segments in the pumpkins. In order to do this, you just want to pull the thread through, pull it tight, make a little knot if you want to keep that like tightness there, and this will create a divide down in the center of each of the piece. As you can see here, it then starts to look like a pumpkin. It's really awesome. You just want to keep going until all of your segments are kind of divided up and you're left with a nice pumpkin shape. So for my pumpkins, obviously I'm making these for the wreath, and in order to attach and de-attach mine and make it so that they're quite versatile, I actually usually use like fishing wire that clear kind of plasticky thread, just to stitch them into place, going through the actual wreath base. As you can see here, I'm just using brown thread because I could not for the life of me find that clear thread, so I just used the brown so that it would really tie in with the wreath base. So I use a absolute massive needle. This is a 15cm doll making needle. I just thread that through the whole entirety of the pumpkin, thread it through the wreath base, and just do loads and loads of stitches until the pumpkins are fully secure on there. I go in from the top, in from the bottom, just wherever I can to hide those stitches and make sure that it's fully secure. Did find that my thread kept getting stuck on like the fake eucalyptus leaves, but I mean it took a little bit of fiddling, but we got there in the end. So obviously before I had those buffalo check pumpkins on that, like I said, I really did like them. It's just it's not going to match in with my more neutral based theme this year, and I've taken all the other bits of buffalo check and left them out. So this was the before with the buffalo check and the pink heart, and this is the after. It just blends in a lot better and I'm really happy with how it looks. So for the third and final DIY, I have these little houses on my TV unit that I want to replace with something a little bit more autumny. I'm not going to be upcycling these. I thought about taking the colour out, but I thought I may as well just DIY a little piece there because I probably want to put this back in the spring or just after Christmas. So I found this little piece of wood just out in my kindling block, waiting to be chopped down into little pieces of wood, but I thought I would save it and give it a little upcycle, see what I can do. You know, I will lose nothing by doing this. So I just took that block and I sanded it down using just a really coarse piece of sandpaper. I think this is like a 60 grit, just to get the main bulk of those rough edges off and all of the corners. I painted the whole of it using the PBO Studio acrylic in the colour light taupe. In just one of the matte ones. These little acrylic paint ones are really matte. I love them. I talk about these all the time, but honestly they're amazing. I think they cost £2 in Hobbycraft and I love them, truly. So if you're in there ever and you want to buy some matte acrylic paint, check these ones out. They do gloss and glitters and different sorts of glazes and that sort of stuff. They're excellent, would highly recommend. So yeah, I painted the whole block in that colour. I just did one coat, it covered really well and I was really happy with it. I then decided to do some writing, so I just roughly sketched it out with a pencil and then went over with a black Posca paint pen. Now I'm not gonna lie, I really disappointed myself on the way that I wrote pumpkins. I did like quite a bit of my fonts because I'm so out of practice. Like usually I'm like not 100% happy, but I'm okay with my fonts, but this one, it didn't turn out the best. My Posca pen kept playing up as well, and it just, I don't know what it was, but it just kept drying out and just going lumpy bumpy, and just, yeah, it wasn't working out. I don't know why. It wasn't my day for the Posca paint pen. So I had to keep going back in with a fine liner and then a Posca paint pen, and I tried another one and that one didn't work very well. So yeah, I did the base outline with that and then ended up filling it back in with the Posca paint pen and filling it in with the fine liner, trying my best, which is probably my excuse for why my font hasn't turned out quite so well. But I think it's just my out of practiceness, but I'm happy enough. It turned out okay. I'm still able to get away with it. I might have to DIY a new DIY for this piece, and just make something different because it keeps catching my eye. I'm not happy with the font majorly, but for now it's going to do until I decide to DIY something better. Hopefully if you make this, you will do a better job than me. So I just wrote out the farm fresh and then pumpkins down at the bottom. I then sketched on a little arrow just to fill up that gap in the centre because I didn't spread it out very far, and yeah, very happy with that. I then decided, I know, instead of just making this a little block sign, because that's what I was going to do, I was going to leave it here, I thought I can change this sign into a, like, pumpkin. Like, make the sign into a pumpkin. So I distressed it down to kind of hide the fact that I did such a bad job at writing. Thought this looked great. I should have stopped here with distressing, but I didn't. Regret that as well. But I stuck a bit of a stick onto the top with some super glue, and then I just stressed it down to make it look like it was a pumpkin. Like I said, turn the square thing into a pumpkin. This is probably where I went a little bit too far with the sandpaper, and now it definitely looks like it's really, really old, which usually I love. But weirdly I'm going for more of like a modern feel this year. I don't know why, it's just happening. But yeah, I dirtied it up like I usually would, popping a bit of ink down on my fingers, rubbing it over. Sometimes you use paint for this, but I had the Posca paint pens out. I decided to make the bottom part more kind of surface friendly, so I just super glued on a little strip of the final sofa sample I had left to use, because waste not, want not and everything. So I just glued that to the bottom and cut around the edges, just so that when it goes on my TV unit it's not going to scratch or anything. And then I thought, I know, I need to add another touch, so I wrapped around a little bit of curly twine around the edge of that stick at the top, and then I just stuck on a little twine bow that I just made up as a finishing touch. All in all, looking back on this camera now, doesn't look so bad. Oh, I quite like it actually. But that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, it wasn't really a, oh, let's get out and craft this type thing. It wasn't anything major like the DIYs, but they've made a huge difference in this living room, and I haven't had to spend any money, which is just perfect. Love how the pumpkins now look on my wreath. I like the previous ones, I'm not gonna lie to you, but there was a reason that I made them with like stitching them on before, because I know how fussy I am. I know how often I change up my colour schemes and all of that. So yeah, really happy with how they've turned out. The little heart, I was actually going to put a pumpkin or something like that on, but I thought I'd keep it neutral, keep it nice and simple, because I like it up there all year round at the moment, and I can change it in the future, but really happy with the colour. And I just think it's a nice change from that pink, which I've taken out for this season and definitely the next season. Might come back in spring, but I might find something different by then to pop up there. And a little sign. I don't like the way I wrote pumpkins on the bottom. I don't like my handwriting. I'm a bit out of practice. Yeah, and I keep staring at it thinking I'm going to have to redo it. So I might repaint it and redo the writing. The Posca pens just weren't working for me. But yeah, apart from that, I kind of like it. It's nice and rustic. Suits the TV stand there, but still, what can you do? I'm a person who's very hard to please. Yeah, even with my own work. What can you do? Anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic Wednesday, a fantastic week ahead, and I will see you very soon for another video. I have an autumn decorate with me, as well as another DIY kind of video. I suppose it's a DIY video, I don't know, but then I'll have another DIY video after that. So if you're into the autumn DIYs and you're into all of that, then I'm your girl. I've got you. I've got you. I've got you. Don't you worry. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye. I'm not very good at this talking thing today. I feel really weird. In a really weird mood today. Still waving. Okay, bye.